That's a good point, is that you're ready to meet somebody new, not replace what you had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Did you push record?
Thanks so much for tuning in to Our Second Act with Paige and Silka. Today I'm happy to welcome a new content expert to Second Act, Cheryl Guidry, the founder of SafeDatingOver50.com. Cheryl, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me this morning.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. We've got some important topics to cover. By way of introduction, Cheryl is a women's healthcare expert for over 30 years. She's a professional speaker and a relationship coach who focuses on helping single women over 50 re-enter the dating scene safely, especially after toxic relationships that many of us have gone through, divorce, and more often than not at this point in our lives, being widowed, the death of a spouse. And Cheryl, that's where I'd like to focus our segment on, our first segment on, because I know that you have done seminars for women who are widowed, correct?
I've done presentations, yes, to widows groups to help them to have some insight on what the feelings that they may be having, and that those are normal feelings, what to look for. So yeah, just to get them on track so they know, how to proceed.
Yeah. Well, we've gotten numerous comments on this. We obviously focus a lot on finding love again after 50, a lot of after divorce, because divorce over 50 is so prevalent. But we haven't really delved into the difference of when you lose a spouse versus you divorce one. So let's go with that. I'd like to actually start from the assumption that we have come to, we know we're ready, but what are some telltale signs that maybe you're not or that you are, before we get into how to get into this process?
Okay. So you will know, and everybody is different. So I want to preface with that. Everyone is different and will go through the process a little bit differently. But you know that you're ready to date when you don't have the house full of all the pictures on the wall. You can talk about, your spouse to a friend, but you're not talking about your spouse all the time. You're not at a space where, when you think about connecting with a new partner, comparing them to what your husband or wife was in the past. Because when you have those things there, you're not ready. You're in a space where you're trying to find what you had before.
Yeah, that's a good point, is that you're ready to meet somebody new, not replace what you had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Because you can't replace what you've lost.
Right.
And you have to get to a place where you have those pleasant memories, but you're able to move forward.
Well, then how do you advise someone? And I know that you focus your counseling and your relationship counseling on primarily women, but I think that this holds true for men. We have a lot of male listeners. Matter of fact, I've had several questions from men also. I just don't know how to move on. Mm-hmm. So we're ready. We decide we want to meet somebody new. How do you counsel someone to do that, especially with online dating?
Look in your own backyard. So many times when we're ready to get out and start dating again, we're looking for some new person that we've never met before. But we've lived a lifetime by the time we get this age. And so you have friends from your past that may have just been friends. There might be other widowers that you know. Just get yourself in a place of where you want to just re-engage socially, not necessarily looking for a partner, build a friendship, go out to dinner, do those type things just to re-engage. It doesn't have to be an all out, I'm trying to find a new man or a woman, type of thing. just re-engage.
Yeah, I know that when I did research on this and talking to people that have gone through this, when you first start, no matter how long you've waited, there's a certain amount of guilt that you bring forth. Is that normal?
Yes, it is normal. It's normal because you feel part of you, I've never experienced it, but from what I understand, you feel that you're not honoring that person's existence, that you're moving on when you shouldn't. When in reality, that person would want you to move forward in your life. They wouldn't want you to be in a stagnant place, just grieving them.
Yeah. Well, and again, I haven't gone through this, but several of my friends have, and I'm surprised sometimes by some of the feedback that they get. I think that what's important for somebody to understand who's going through this is that people that maybe make you feel guilty or say or somehow criticize your decisions is that it's their own fear of being forgotten. Would you agree with that?
I agree. I agree. Um, Especially with couples that you may have um, entertained with or went out with, or even your family who's used to your spouse, even your spouse's family. A lot of times they may think it's not time for you to move forward. Everyone has their opinion on when you should move forward. And although I agree you should take some time to find out who you are after you have lost a spouse, because that is something that's a grief like I equate with after losing a child, or after a child I think is your husband or your spouse. It takes time, and when you're ready, if you feel like you're ready, you should not have to have someone else tell you that you're not. So you just have to explain to them, this is the route that I'm gonna go, and this is where I feel comfortable, and keep it moving.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's nobody's business but
It's
your own.
nobody's business.
It's nobody's business. Probably easier said than done, but yeah, I mean, that's what it comes down to. I think that also one of the things that maybe you don't think about when you actually meet somebody new, it's very prevalent today, online dating. You've at that point you've disclosed. Typically, you put most of the sites that I'm referring to match, and some of the ones I'm familiar with, what your status was: separated, divorced, widowed is one of them. So you meet somebody, they already know this. How do you treat that first conversation?
I say treat it like a normal friendship. You don't have to, I don't believe in digging deep in personal issues right on the first meeting. See where that person's at, build a friendship, see what they're looking for, what makes you want to be on this side, what are you looking for long term. And you may discuss, being a widower, I've been widowed for 10 years, or I've been widowed for 6 months. So if you're the one that's approaching someone that's a widow, then, I would say make sure that that person is ready to date, because they may just be on there just to kind of engage. Just because they're on there doesn't mean that they're looking for another spouse. You've been married for 30 years, 20 years, and you're gonna miss that connection. You're gonna miss being able to talk to the opposite sex. You're gonna miss the intimacy from the relationship. This person is in a very vulnerable state, and so I don't recommend connecting that close until you make sure that you're truly ready on both ends of it.
Yeah. Well, and I think and I actually, when I first started dating after my divorce, I did date a widower briefly. And while all the boxes may have checked really for what I was looking for, I found I found it was very hard to overcome the rose-colored glasses through which, he remembered his wife, which was beautiful. But I mean, I felt like I was never going to be able to live up to those expectations, and that was a no-go item for me, as crass as that might seem. But I'm bringing that up, and I'm being honest about it, because that is what you're dealing with if you're a widow or widower when you're engaging with somebody else.
Yes.
So how do you talk to me about that? How would you advise someone to handle that?
If there is really a connection, it just depends on what that person's looking for. Now, if you're just on because you're just wanting some social engagement and conversation, it's not going to affect anything. But if you're wanting something more long term and that's your goal, that person's not ready. If that person's conversation is talking about their partner the whole time or frequently, they're not ready. They're not ready.
Well, Cheryl, we're starting to come to the end of our segment. These go so fast, and this is a very, very deep topic that we can talk about for hours.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of this segment, obviously we're going to link to all of your information so people can get a hold of you directly as well, especially if they choose to maybe engage you in a relationship counseling session. I also want to mention that you have a book coming out. Tell me the title again.
It's called Empowerpreneurs.
Okay, Empowerpreneurs. See, I pronounced it wrong when we talked before, and I didn't want to do that. But it's a compilation of people who have started over after 50. Is that correct?
It's 11 authors that are entrepreneurs, and we each bring our unique spill on topics that are related to entrepreneurs. My topic is relationships. The title is Queen, Get Your Life Back. And so I talk to the businesswoman, the woman trying to determine whether she wants to get back into a relationship, and those trying to heal from previous relationships.
Well, and we'll be sure to link to that as well. I want to hold you over for another segment where we focus on moving on,
Right.
be it a divorce, widow situation or not. And we'll see you on our next segment of our second act with Paige and Silka.
All right.
If you haven't already done so, please be sure to subscribe to our channel. The button is right here. Just click on through to YouTube, and when you see that little bell next to the subscribe button, hit that too. We'll notify you every time we start a new video. See you next time.